I slipped beneath the surface of the water into the clear, warm, tropical sea and took that first breath in. That tentative moment where you can relax knowing that you did indeed remember to turn your oxygen on. I exhaled deeply and began to sink naturally towards the ocean floor. But something was different. Something didn't feel quite right. I found myself being swept along rather rapidly. I looked above me and I could see the boat, but I was being pulled further and further back away from it. I was in a strong current. I had never been in a situation like this before, and in my naivety, I began to kick against it, thinking I could make progress, get back to the safety of the boat, or at least the buoy line, for fear of being drifted out into the vast open ocean, never to be seen again. My heart was racing. The water and the bubbles rushed past my ears, and I looked over my shoulder. I could see I was quickly being swept along, and if I didn't gain control quick, I was going to crash into this wall of coral behind me. So I kicked even harder, kicking against the current all the time, keeping an eye on the boat, but it was going further and further away. Until smack, there I was, gripping onto this wall like a limpet, the sharp edges cutting at my fingertips, red, smoky swirls seeping from the gashes in my hand. To make matters worse, my fin began to slip off, my mask filled with water. I couldn't see anything. Have you ever felt like that when you feel completely out of control, like your fate is no longer in your hands? My heart was really pounding now. I was panicking. I thought my heart was going to leap out of my chest. Amid this chaos, it dawned on me that this situation looked very familiar. This frenzied scene reminded me a lot of my life. How I had been kicking against resistance for a long time, not making much progress, convincing myself I was happy, but ultimately ending up exhausted, broken and bruised. I love dancing, always have done. From a young age, I've always attended a dance class, whether it was ballet, modern, tap, jazz, salsa, you name it, I've done it. It was only when I was 19 years old that I first discovered belly dance. Have you ever assumed you knew everything there was to know about a subject, only to get it completely wrong? Well, that was me and belly dance. I went to my first class and I thought I was going to learn a sexy dance and get to wear beautiful costumes and all my friends would be very impressed with me. Well, some of that was true. But what I discovered was so much more. You see, I discovered a secret society. It was a complete revelation to me that this ancient art was never even supposed to be seen by men. It was a dance performed by women for women. A celebration of the body and all things feminine. Preparing the body for childbirth. A place where you could be unapologetically proud of your curves. And at 19, growing up in a society where lumps and bumps were something to be hidden away and smoothed over in giant sucky-in underwear that started under your armpits and went down to your knees, this was liberating. I fell even more in love with dancing, and belly dance in particular. I loved that it was for all shapes and sizes and ages. That you could wobble and shake without fear of people judging you. Dancing allows people to communicate and express themselves in ways that words simply cannot. When you don't even know what you want to say, turn on the music. Begin to move. Emotion in motion is what you're witnessing. And I believe this to be true of any art form, whether it's poetry or painting or dancing. What the artist is sharing with you is so much more than paint on a canvas or a sequence of movements. I believe it is a tangible piece of their soul. Dancing for me is when I get in the zone, or some of you might know this as being in flow. And Hungarian-American psychologist Mihai Csikszentmihalyi, glad I got that right, he describes this state of flow as being completely involved in an activity for its own sake. The ego falls away, time flies, every action, movement and thought follows inevitably from the previous one. Your whole being is involved, and you don't even notice the time go by. You're using your skills to the utmost. I'm sure you've experienced something similar where you swear only a few minutes have passed, but in fact it's been an hour. This psychologist has done studies on happiness, and his studies revealed that this state of flow is in fact the secret to happiness. That once your basic needs are taken care of, no amount of money can increase your happiness, that only this state of flow can do this. In a world where our attention is constantly being hijacked, being pulled from pillar to post, what joy it is to have found this. What joy it is to be utterly consumed in just one activity. And I imagine on some level many of you here tonight have experienced something similar. And I'm sure the people on the stage here tonight certainly have. I have a confession though. I'm guilty of neglecting this passion, succumbing to the demands and distractions of everyday life, allowing everything else to take priority. Before I knew it, a year had passed, 2 years and more, and I hadn't so much as stepped inside a studio. Work took priority, recovering from work, socialising, recovering from socialising. But none of it brought as much happiness to me as when I get involved in dancing or some kind of passion like that. Life was duller. I was duller. I had lost my spark, and I didn't like it. I wasn't quite sure what to do next, and over time I began to question my direction. Where was I going? What is this all about? Everything seemed temporary, transient. I didn't notice it straight away because when you're in the thick of it, it's hard to see the wood from the trees. But I realised I was on the wrong path. I had been pushing against resistance, convincing myself I was happy, but knowing all the time that I would one day have to make a decision to change my life. But that thought terrified me, and I tortured myself over making that decision. I went around in circles trying to make my mind up about what it is I want to do with my life. All the time, anxiety building up inside me. Until one day, looking for something to soothe my soul, I stepped back inside the studio. And something inside of me was revived. That spark began to glisten again. Until again I was lost in the music and the movement, where time and stress no longer exist. I didn't know where this was going to take me, but I knew I wanted to experience more of it. And this time I would not let my passion slip to the bottom of my priorities. This journey has led me to where I am today. And I'm very happy to say that dancing is now part of my everyday life. And in fact, I teach belly dancing here upstairs in the studios in the evening. But by day, I work as a mind coach and master practitioner of neuro-linguistic programming, and I'm a trained hypnotist. I got involved in this line of work because of what I experienced in life. I don't know anything about your life, and it's not my job to tell people how to live theirs. But when I work with clients, I see a common thread. It seems many people drift through life, doing things they think they should be doing, making other people happy, and they find themselves in their 30s, 40s, 50s, or 60s, even later, thinking, how did I get here? And where am I going? What's this all about? We live in a world where we have so much information at our fingertips. We've never had more options available to us. You want a coffee? Don't think so. Make it a grande decaf mocha latte made with almond and rice milk, sweetened with agave syrup, cinnamon on top, stir twice to the left, once to the right to take away, please. Coffee. While it's a blessing to have options, it can also be so overwhelming that it prevents us from taking action at all. It's never been more important to get clear on what it is you want out of life. There is a need to sift through all the rubbish and distractions there are out there and realize what it is that is truly going to make you happy. $17,520 days. That's the number of days I have left to live. How do I know this? I don't. That's best case scenario, that I live to the average age of 81. That's 2,502 Mondays. I don't know about you, but that scares me a little. That lights a fire inside me. I want to live a life filled with passion and purpose and happiness. I want to chase down happiness and purpose and passion like it's the last bus of the night. And when I talk about passion, I don't mean chasing money or a high-flying career. I'm not suggesting going in to work on Monday and quitting your job and taking up whatever it is that you want to do as a full-time job just yet. But start to introduce it into your life or welcome it back into your life if you've let it slip away like I did. Needless to say, I survived that terrifying dive. I stopped kicking against the current and realized that no matter how hard I kicked, I was never going to make progress on that path. I would never be happy on that path. And so I fixed my mask, put my fin back on, and I chose a different direction. I went with the flow. And I would encourage you to leave here tonight and think about when it's time to persevere with something, because we all face resistance in life, and there's a good resistance. So think about when it's time to persevere, but also to recognize that another path could bring you so much more happiness and peace. 17,520 days. I want to live those days out with happiness and 520 days. That's my number. What's yours and what are you going to do with it? Thank you.